Okay guys, we're gonna show you how to trim the scrap off your stepstone and start carving. If you've already transferred your design, connected your dots, and these little dry boogers we're just gonna sweep off the surface. So the first thing we're gonna do is trim off some of this extra scrap here. If you can see right here, this little ledge, that if you have any of that sticking out still, we want to cut that off. And so you can take your fettling knife and cut most of it off. So get real close to all of it with the fettling knife. And then you can go in and by the way, when you make a mess like this, try to push it to the middle of the table so that you can just collect a pile of it there and clean that up afterwards. This tool is called a Sureform. You find these in the top right cabinet over the wedging table. It is called a Sureform. It looks like a cheese grater with a handle, but please call it a Sureform. The way this works is just like a cheese grater. You can basically shave off the rest of that little stump down there, that little scrap, until it is smooth and flush with the side. You see, if you run your finger along it right here, you shouldn't feel any bump. That tells you you've got it nice and clean and you're done. So I'm just showing you this one side. I want you to do all 4 of your sides before you start carving. So I'm going to move on to carving. Let's pretend I finished trimming all the sides and let's get started. I did mark my negative spaces here after I changed or transferred my design, so I know these are the negative spaces, these are the areas that are going to be carved. I'm going to pick up where I started testing here the other day, and you notice, unlike when I first started, as I trim, see how the clay is falling right off of my tool, it's not sticking to the tool. That means that the clay is dry enough, and this is what we call leather hard. So what I'm doing is carving out these negative spaces, and when I come to a shape that touches the edge, I'm just going to carve that right to the edge and let it roll right off the edge, which should stay rounded. You see, when it came out of the mold, it has this rounded edge here, which you can see. We want to keep that. It's really important you keep a rounded surface on the edge, because later we're going to put your name and graduation year on 2 edges on that rounded surface. So let's practice carving right here. I'm going to put the tool flat and line up this edge. You can see this edge right here is going to follow the line, but instead of keeping the tool flat, I'm going to tilt it up just to help make sure that I pull the tool in a straight line, and then I can go back in and carve that out. So how deep should you carve? You want to carve about between 1/8 and 1/4 inch, no more than 1/4 inch. The thickness of your needle tool handle is about 1/4 inch. Do not trim any deeper than this, okay? In some of these tight corners, I'm going to turn around and use the pointy part here. And depending on your design, everybody's design's a little different. Right now I'm pointing the tip straight down. I call this the scoopy end, or the shovel end of the tool. And for tight spots, I'm just going to literally scrape out that corner. And so right now I'm just going to roughly carve most of the stuff out, and then I'm going to go back in and try to get it as clean as possible. So I'm going a little faster, trying to get about the same depth, but it's going to look a little rough and a little jagged. And once I get everything out of there, I'm going to go back in and clean it up. So I can pull the flat end of the tool right up to the flat part of the line, push it in, and then pull. Again, here we come to this little tight spot, this little corner. I'm going to get the point of the tool, make a nice crisp point there so that my design really looks in the stepstone as good as it did on paper. And this is kind of like I feel like a dentist right now scraping plaque off of somebody's teeth. And it's leaving a really rough, scratchy surface. We'll clean that up in the second part. Okay, so I'm going to finish getting this one big negative shape carved out. And see, this is why I said don't make anything smaller than the width of your eraser. See, this area, this shape is a little small for me, so I'm going to have to get in there with the point of the tool. It's not impossible, it's just a lot more tedious and difficult. I want you to also notice it's really important that these cliffs are straight. When I say cliffs, look here, we have a plateau, we have a valley floor below, and this edge right here that I'm pointing at, that I'm scratching, is the cliff face, the face of the cliff right here. So if I'm a little tiny person, I'm running on the plateau, I'm running, I get to the edge, I jump off, and then I land at the valley below. I just jumped off the cliff. So I want my cliff to be very straight, and I want the cliff face to meet the valley floor at a 90-degree angle. So I'm going about as fast as you can, and I've done this before, but there really is no substitute for precision, or no substitute for working slowly and carefully if you're trying to be precise. And again, all this little dust that's coming off, this is really bad stuff if we let it dry and don't clean it up. So every time I blow on it, I'm blowing towards the middle of the table, so my stuff is going that way, okay, not to the edge. I don't want stuff here on the edge. When it is near the edge, I'm going to push it back towards the table.